Right now, while you are reading these words, there is a battle happening over your life. Not a metaphor, not a poetic expression, a real, ongoing, spiritual war. And you are the territory. Swords are drawn in a realm you cannot see with your natural eyes. And on one side there are forces trying to break you, silence you, make you doubt everything you know to be true. And on the other side, there is a host of heaven standing guard over your name, over your breath, over your next step. Because someone up there placed a trust in you that you have not even begun to understand. I want you to sit with that for a second. Someone trusts you. More than you imagine. More than you have allowed yourself to believe. And the reason you feel so attacked lately, the reason your mind will not rest, the reason strange obstacles keep showing up out of nowhere, the reason people you love have suddenly started acting distant, is not because you are cursed, it is because you are trusted. And the enemy of your soul knows exactly what kind of weight you are carrying. My name is George, and if you stay with me for the next few minutes, I am going to show you something that will change the way you look at every hard season you have walked through. Because what you thought was punishment was actually placement. What you thought was rejection was actually protection. And what you thought was a breakdown was actually a rehearsal for something so much bigger than you. Let me tell you what I mean. There was a man in the Bible named Job. Most people know his story because of what he lost: his children, his wealth, his health, his reputation. But almost nobody pays attention to the verse at the very beginning. Because the real story of Job did not start on earth. It started in heaven, in a conversation. And in that conversation, God himself pointed at Job. Think about that. Out of every man alive in that generation, God pointed. He said, essentially, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him on the earth." That is not a small moment. That is a cosmic moment. Because what was really happening was this: God was showing off his friend. God was bragging about the faith of a regular man who kept his heart clean in a world that was falling apart. And the enemy heard that and came against Job. Not because Job was weak, but because Job was trusted. And if you have been going through what you have been going through, you need to hear me when I say this: you are not Job by accident. You are Job on purpose. The trial did not find you. The trial was assigned to you. Because somewhere, in a realm higher than this one, your name came up in a conversation. And heaven answered for you. Let that settle in your chest for a moment. Because most people spend their whole lives trying to figure out what they did wrong to deserve the storm. They dig through their past. They replay every mistake. They search for the sin that opened the door. And I am not saying repentance is not important, it is. But I am telling you, sometimes the storm is not about what you did wrong. Sometimes the storm is about what you are about to do right. And the enemy wants to shipwreck you before you ever get there. Now let me bring this closer to home. Maybe you are a mother, sitting at the kitchen table at 2 in the morning, and the house is quiet, and the bills are on the counter. And your husband is snoring in the other room, and you are wondering how you are going to get through another week. You feel invisible. You feel like everything is on your shoulders. And the thought creeps in: does anybody even see me? Does God even notice? I want to tell you something. Not only does he notice, he is defending you. Right now. There are angels standing between you and things that would have already taken you out if you were not loved the way you are loved. You do not see them because you were never supposed to. You were supposed to trust. And the fact that you are still standing, still praying, still making breakfast, still showing up, that is not small. That is a testimony that heaven is pointing at. Or maybe you are a man who has been laid off, and every door you knock on slams shut, and you have started to believe the lie that you are not enough, that you have failed your family, that God has turned his back. And I am here to tell you, that is a trick. That is the enemy whispering in the one ear that God has not filled yet with his own voice. Because the truth is, and this is the part I want you to grab onto, you are being hidden before you are being raised. You are being refined before you are being released. And the silence you are walking through is not abandonment. It is assignment. Think of David. Before he ever wore a crown, he was a shepherd boy that nobody thought about. His own father forgot to call him when the prophet Samuel came to the house. Let that sink in. The prophet came to anoint a king, and David's own family left him outside with the sheep. They did not see him. They did not consider him. But God did. And when Samuel came, the Spirit of the Lord would not let him anoint anyone else. He had to send for the forgotten one, because God trusts the forgotten ones. Think about what David was doing while his brothers were being lined up to possibly be the next king. He was watching sheep. He was in the field, probably singing to himself, probably making up songs that would one day become psalms that would outlive empires. Alone, dirty, smelling like animals, and heaven was watching every second of it. Heaven was taking notes. Heaven was measuring the heart of a boy who stayed faithful when nobody was looking. That is who gets trusted. Not the loud one, not the polished one, not the one with the best suit in the front row on Sunday. The one who stays faithful in the field. The one who worships when no one claps. The one who prays when no one sees. That is who God entrusts with nations. If you have ever felt overlooked, please hear me. Being overlooked by men is not the same as being overlooked by God. Sometimes, being overlooked is the very proof that God is hiding you for a reason. The arrows cannot hit what the world cannot see. And when the moment comes for you to be revealed, everyone who dismissed you will have to sit down and watch heaven introduce you. And here is where it gets real. The battle over your life is not random. It is not general. It is specific. Demons do not waste energy on people who are not going anywhere. They do not strategize against lukewarm lives. They are not losing sleep over someone comfortable on the sidelines. No, they come hard. They come early. And they come often against the ones carrying something unusual, something prophetic, something that, if it were ever fully released, would wreck their plans for an entire generation. So if the attack has been strange, if the timing has been suspicious, if the people who should have stood with you have suddenly turned, if sickness came out of nowhere, if financial pressure showed up the same month you started praying harder than ever, understand what that is. That is not bad luck. That is a response. And responses happen because someone important moved first. You moved first. In the spirit. And now the realms are answering. But here is the part that will free you if you let it. On the other side, heaven also responded. Because the moment the enemy drew a sword against you, angels were already dispatched with orders that had your name on them. You did not see the paperwork, but it was filed before you were born. The book of Psalms says, He gives His angels charge over you, to guard you in all your ways. Not some of your ways, all of your ways, even the ways you regret, even the ways you are ashamed of, even the ways you cannot talk about. Do you understand what that means? It means there is a bodyguard assigned to you that you did not hire, cannot fire, and never have to pay. It means that while you were crying yourself to sleep, there was a being of fire standing at the foot of your bed with instructions directly from the throne. It means that every time you almost quit, and then somehow found the strength to get up one more time, that was not you. That was a nudge from the realm of glory, reminding your bones who you are. Let me tell you about a man named Elisha. There was a moment in the Old Testament where he and his servant were surrounded by an enemy army, horses, chariots, soldiers everywhere. The servant panicked. He ran to Elisha and said, "What are we going to do? We are surrounded." And Elisha said something I want you to never forget. He said, "Fear not, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And then he prayed a simple prayer. He said, "Lord, open his eyes so he may see." And when God opened that servant's eyes, do you know what he saw? The mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around them, an army of heaven, invisible until that moment, that had been there the whole time. The whole time. Think about that phrase. Not summoned at the last second, not dispatched in the emergency. There, the whole time, before the enemy army ever showed up, before the servant even knew what fear felt like that morning. Heaven was already in position. Heaven was already surrounding the surroundings. And the only thing that had to change was not the situation, it was the servant's eyes. I wonder how many of us are walking through seasons where the chariots of fire are right there, but our eyes have not been opened yet. How many of us are missing the comfort of what is already covering us because we are too focused on what is coming against us? The enemy wants your eyes on the problem. Heaven wants your eyes on the protector. I want to pray that same prayer over you right now. Lord, open their eyes. Let them see that they have never been outnumbered. Let them see that the army behind them is bigger than the army in front of them. Let them see that the battle is not for them to win, it is for them to witness. Because the truth is, when you belong to God, you are never fighting alone. You are never fighting first. The battle was already engaged before you noticed anything was wrong. And the only reason you are still here after everything is because the war room of heaven has been working overtime on a case nobody told you about. Your case. Now I want to ask you something personal. Have you ever been in a moment where something should have gone wrong, and it did not? A car accident that almost happened. A phone call you ignored that would have changed everything. A relationship you almost jumped into that would have broken you. A decision you were about to make at 3 in the morning that you somehow slept on, and by the next day, your mind was clear, and you did not do it. That was not coincidence. That was intervention. That was a hand moving in the dark on your behalf. And the reason you never saw it is because grace is quiet. Grace does not announce itself. Grace just keeps you. And one day, when you stand before the Father, He is going to show you the highlight reel of every moment. He pulled you back from the edge without you even knowing, and you are going to fall on your face and realize you were carried more than you were ever capable of walking. There are messages that pass through your eyes, and there are messages that pass through your spirit. If something in you recognized itself while watching, don't dismiss it. That is the Spirit confirming what was already written. The secret protocol carries 7 keys that unveil what heaven deposited in you before you ever arrived. Things no one around you has ever been able to name. It comes with a full audiobook for your moments of prayer, silence, and encounter with God. And you also receive the Awakening Map, the guide that illuminates the 5 seasons of spiritual awakening, revealing with precision exactly where you are and what comes next. The link is pinned in the first comment, but only for a limited time. Don't let this moment pass without a response. Now let me take you deeper, because there is another layer to this that almost nobody talks about. And it is this. The trust heaven has placed in you is not just about protection. It is about commissioning. The angels are not only guarding your life, they are waiting for your assignment to fully activate. They are on standby. They are watching your obedience. They are moving according to your declarations. And when you finally stand up in the identity God gave you, the entire atmosphere shifts. I want you to picture something. Picture a courtroom. On one side, the accuser. On the other side, the advocate. And in the middle, the judge. And the case being presented is about you, about whether you are worthy, about whether you are ready, about whether you will rise. And every accusation thrown at you, every lie, every record of every mistake, every voice that ever said you were too broken, too late, too used up, every single one of those is answered, not by your defense, by his blood. Because the advocate does not argue your resume. He argues the cross, and the cross has never lost a case. So when I tell you someone is trusting you more than you imagine, I am not talking about sentiment. I am talking about a legal verdict in the courts of heaven. You have been declared worthy. You have been declared equipped. You have been declared ready. The only voice still trying to convince you otherwise is the one that lost the case and is refusing to leave the courtroom. Shut him up, not by arguing, by worshiping, by walking, by doing the next right thing even when your knees are shaking. Every time you obey in the dark, you are entering evidence that heaven is already celebrating. Every time you forgive someone who does not deserve it, you are rewriting the narrative the enemy wanted for your bloodline. Every time you pray for the person who hurt you, you are dismantling curses your grandparents did not know how to break. You are more powerful than you have been taught to believe. And I think the reason so many people never step into that power is because nobody ever told them. Nobody ever sat them down and said, "Listen, the reason you feel different is not because you are broken. It is because you are chosen. The reason you cannot fit in is not because you are strange. It is because you were not assigned to that room. The reason you carry weight nobody around you seems to carry is not because you are weak. It is because you are built to carry what would crush other people. Some of you reading this right now are carrying whole generations on your back. You are the first one in your family to break a pattern. You are the first one to say, "The cycle ends here." You are the first one to choose prayer over panic, forgiveness over bitterness, faith over fear. And because you are first, you are pioneering a path that others are going to walk after you. That is why the battle is heavy. Pioneers always take the hardest hits, but pioneers also plant the flag. Let me tell you about another moment. Daniel. He was thrown into a lion's den for doing the very thing that had made him faithful his entire life. He did not change. He did not stop praying. He kept his window open toward Jerusalem even when it would cost him everything. And they threw him in, with lions, in the dark, alone. Or so they thought. Because when morning came and the king ran to the pit, Daniel was alive, untouched. And he said something I want you to hold on to. He said, "My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions." Sent his angel. There was an angel in that pit before Daniel hit the floor. Before he even had time to be afraid. Before the lions even noticed he was there. The angel was already on site. Because heaven does not react late. Heaven always arrives early. And the same God who dispatched that angel for Daniel has dispatched something for you. Whatever pit you are in, whatever lion you are facing, whatever impossibility has your name on it, you are not alone in there. You were never alone in there. The angel got there first. And I want you to notice something else about Daniel. When the king asked him how he survived, Daniel did not say, "I was strong." He did not say, "I fought the lions." He did not say, "I prayed hard enough." He gave the credit to the one who sent the messenger. He understood that his survival was not about his spiritual muscle. It was about his father's faithfulness. That is the posture of someone who is trusted. They do not take credit for what heaven does through them. They point up, always up. Can I tell you something? A lot of people lose their anointing not because they fail, but because they start believing the applause. They start thinking the breakthrough came from their own hand. They forget who sent the angel. And the moment you forget who sent the angel, you start to drift. Daniel never drifted. He kept his window open. He kept his knees bent. And heaven kept sending reinforcements, because heaven knew where the credit was always going to land. And maybe tonight, you needed to hear that. Maybe tonight, you were about to give up on something, and you needed a reminder that giving up is not the end of your story. Maybe tonight, you were about to believe a lie about yourself, and you needed a voice to cut through and say, that is not who you are. You are loved, you are called, you are carried, and someone is trusting you with more than you ever knew was coming. The season you are in right now is preparation. The tears you have cried in private are seeds. The prayers you thought went unanswered were not ignored. They were filed, and the harvest is already on its way. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not finished. You are in the middle of a story that heaven is writing with a level of care you cannot even comprehend. So the next time the pressure hits, and it will remember this, remember that you have an advocate, an army, and an assignment. Remember that the reason they are battling for you is because you are worth the battle. Remember that the trust placed in you is older than your name and stronger than your doubt. Remember that you are not carrying this alone. You never were. And when you doubt, because you will doubt, come back to this. Play it again. Let it wash over you. Let it remind your soul that the God who called you knows exactly what you can handle, exactly what you can become, and exactly how the ending plays out. Spoiler, you win. Not because you are strong enough on your own, but because the one fighting for you has never lost a battle and is not about to start with you. I want to close with something simple. I want you to leave a comment below, and I do not want you to just write a heart or a prayer hand. I want you to write the name of the battle you have been fighting that nobody else knows about. Not the details, just the name. Call it what it is, because the moment you name it, you break its secrecy. And the moment it is named, heaven is released to move on it in a way it could not, while it stayed hidden. Then I want you to read other people's names too. And when something stirs in you, stop and pray for that person by that name. Because right now, in this comment section, we are about to watch heaven defend its own. And the trust that has been placed on you is about to be matched by the trust you are about to place in the God who has never, not once, not ever, let you down. You were never fighting alone. You are not fighting alone tonight. And you will never fight alone again.